All praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai, by Shem Rakar Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is going to be a scripture on judgment is going to come upon those that defended the Lord's anointed, and that that judgment is going to be upon those that offended the Lord's anointed, and that tried to do the Lord's prophets harm. All right, and that covers two different groups of people: those that believe in Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai are all the anointed. But the prophets are a different breed among those that believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because they teach others about Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai so that more people can be brought in to understand about and know about Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. I'm going to start off with this scripture here. This is Psalm 105 and verse 13. When they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. Yea, he reproved kings for their sakes, saying, touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land. He brake the whole staff of bread. And right now across the world, although people have not seen the effects of it, there's many famines that are being brought upon the world. And these people are going to see in the end that the whole reason why their life was being destroyed and the whole reason why this society was crumbling was because people didn't believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai ultimately, but also because Yahweh was judging the world for what they did to his elect and to what they did to his nation that he chose. People don't understand when it comes to how the world works, that Yahweh will allow people to do a certain thing and then also destroy them for doing that thing. And I'm going to get a scripture to prove that point. This is Matthew chapter 18 and verse 7. Woe unto the world because of offences, for it must needs be that offences come. But woe to that man by whom the offence cometh. So Yahweh has made certain offences have to be done upon the earth, and an example of that is the curses that the Israelites went through. The other nations had to fulfill those curses and had to do things to us in order to make those curses be fulfilled, right? But woe unto those people that fulfill those things, because they're going to receive heavy judgments for causing problems in the lives of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's elect and of all the Israelites in general as a whole. Even though there's certain Israelites that Yahweh is destined to be destroyed in the latter times, people are still going to have to be punished that destroy them. People that do things to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's nation are still going to have to be punished for what they did to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's nation. And mainly, the main group of people that's going to be upon is the Edomites. And I'm going to go back to that scripture in a minute to make another point. But first, I want to read this. Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, blood shall pursue thee. And there's many people across the earth that when you just see them, man, when you and them meet, there's a spiritual fight instantly, because these people have got a demonic vibe on them, and you've got a righteous vibe or trying to have a righteous vibe upon you. So when you come across these people, it's friction, because these people are for trying to fulfill the left-hand side of pride and of glorifying in yourself. But we're trying to fulfill the side of righteousness, the right-hand side of glorying in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because we understand that there's nothing that we have that's of our own self. It's all of Yahweh. We understand that. And as you have believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai more and more, you understand that you ain't nothing. We ain't nothing, man. We understand that. And this topic can be spoken about so easily, because it's one of the things that's tough to understand, but at the same time, when you understand it, it's simple. It's simple to understand, but at the same time, it's a stumbling block to many people, because they think that life's supposed to be easy, man, when you believe in God. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 7. For who maketh thee to differ from another? And what hast thou that thou didst not receive? Now if thou didst receive it, why dost thou glory as if thou hadst not received it? So even believing in Yahweh Shem Yahushai, you can't glory in that and be proud. Because the only difference between an Israelite that's of the 2/3 and an Israelite that's of the elect is Yahweh's choice. Is Yahweh giving one the gift of faith and not giving the other the gift of faith? Because ultimately no man's saved by their works. They're saved through faith. And the faith is a gift. The faith isn't a thing that man earned their own self. It's something that was given. And let me get a scripture on that. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 8. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. So you can't boast even if you get salvation anyway. And the other scripture that I read, what hast thou that thou didst not receive? If you got a nice car, okay, you might have had to go to work to earn the money to have that nice car, but who gave you the job? Yahweh gave you the job. And if you're carnal, you're not going to see it that way. But if you're spiritual, you're going to see it that way. You're going to see that Yahweh gave you the job. Yahweh gave you the intelligence to do the job. So therefore, ultimately, Yahweh gave you the job. Yahweh gave you the ability to be able to own what you own. He gave you the ability to be able to do that. But people get proud when they start getting things to their own destruction, man. They get proud when they start having things to their own destruction. But right now, what we're seeing on the earth is that all of these things are being taken away from these people anyway, man. And that's why we should be glad. We should be happy if Yahweh Shem Yahushua hasn't gave us certain things. This is Psalm 105 and verse 13 again. When they went from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, he suffered no man to do them wrong. Yea, he reproved kings for their sakes. So although men have done us wrong, as we've gone from one nation to another, from one kingdom to another people, we're under the Edomites now. The Edomites have control on the majority of the things that Israelites do. They have to go to Esau for the want of all things. We have to go to the other nations for the want of all things also. But it's mainly Esau that we have to go to for the want of all things. And he thinks in his mind, he thinks in his mind that he's got away with it. He got away with doing all this stuff, but he hasn't though. There's going to come a day where he has to pay. And one place in the scriptures to read, to get a better understanding of that, is the entirety of Isaiah, the 47th chapter. Verse 15 saying, touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. Moreover, he called for a famine upon the land. He brake the whole staff of bread. And there's famines that are coming upon this land right now. There's famines that are coming upon the land that Esau is in charge of. And there was a scripture that I said I was going to go back to, but Salakia, I forgot what scripture it was as I'm doing this lesson. So I'm gonna go to some other scriptures to make some other points. This is Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 4. The earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. So because people are not following Yahweh Shem Yahushua's laws, that's why this earth is as wicked as it is right now. Because people didn't want to follow and didn't think that they needed to trust in the Lord. They thought that they could just do whatever they wanted to do. That's what they thought they could do. But when the mark of the beast comes out, right, then all these people are going to realize that what they was trusting in was a joke, man. What they was trusting in and what they was hoping in was a joke. When they see the main country, the main land of folly get taken off the earth, then they're going to know that what they was believing in was a joke. And let me find that scripture. Let me find the scripture on that. This is Revelation chapter 18 You know what? Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the home of every foul spirit, and a cage to every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunken of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice coming from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partaker of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And the plague that's going to come upon America, which that's who Babylon the Great is that place is going to be burnt with fire through nuclear warfare. And when people see that, they're going to know that Esau's way of being is beginning to come to an end. And it goes into it. Verse 5, For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God have remembered her iniquity. Reward her as she rewarded you, and double unto her according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. And just like how America in general thinks that they'll see no sorrow, the people that worship these places think that they're not ever going to see no sorrow, because they believe and follow in the doctrine and the belief system of America, of Babylon the Great, that you can just do whatever wickedness you want to do to people, and as long as you can defend yourself in a physical way, you can always get away with it. And that's why they'll have people that it's a place that produces people that think because they can overcome people with might physically, that they can just do whatever they want to do to people. But that's not how it works, man. There's punishments for pride. There's punishments for doing wrong to people. And everyone has to pay for the wrong that they do, including America and all the inhabitants. And it's deep that how only the elect of the nation of Israel are going to be saved out of that land, and after that the rest of the land is going to be completely destroyed. Verse 8, Therefore shall plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is Yahweh to judge of her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. So people are going to look and see, man, America's destroyed. And they're going to start considering what America did. Man, America had those Israelites in slavery. They ain't going to be wording it that way. They're going to be wording it like America had those black people in slavery, or America killed those Native Americans, or America treated those Latino people like garbage. And now look what's happened. And then they're going to see the elect of the nation of Israel be raised up, and they're going to realize that the Israelites are those same people that was categorized as colors and as things that they're not. And terror is going to come upon them when they see these things. They're going to be terrified. They're going to be terrified, man. Verse 10, Standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. So in 1 hour, Yahweh is going to destroy this place that so many people are scared of and terrified of right now, that so many people believe in and trust in. It's only going to take an hour for that place to be completely destroyed. Verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Not because the place was righteous. They're not going to be mourning. They're going to be mourning because they made money off that place. Because really, that's the only reason why people mess with that place in the first place anyway, because they can get money from there and fulfill the lusts of their hearts through getting access to these things through money. Verse 12, the merchants of gold. I'm going to skip that bit. I'm not going to go into that bit. In fact, I will, Salakia. The merchants of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and thine wood, and all manner of vessels of Uri, and all manner of vessels of the most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. America, you could just get anything from that place, man. Anything that your heart thought, you could get access to. Any lust of your flesh, you can get access to in that place. You can get access to anything you want in that place, man. Verse 14, and fruits that thy soul lusted after, and fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and good are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more also. Once America's been destroyed, America and those people that are in charge of it, the Edomites, ain't going to have a damn thing ever again after that. They're not ever going to be seeing those things that is mentioned in verse 12 to 14 ever again. They're not going to have access to these things. The access to those things is going to be closed off forever. They're not going to have access to it. Having luxury cars and stuff like that is going to be taken away from these people. Verse 15, and merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off, for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen, and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones and pearls. That place that had anything you could want, which is America. America's got anything that you can want in this world, right? You can find it in America. If you want luxury cars, you can find it in America. If you want to have access to the most beautiful women in the world, you can get it in America. If you want access to drugs, you can get it in America. Anything that's wicked, you can find it in America. They've even got a place over there called Sin City. You can literally get access to anything you want in that place. Verse 16, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen, and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold, and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the accompanying ships and sailors and many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? Because America's got a heavy military, man. Heavy. To where you'd think that nobody could mess with that place, but Yahweh's going to mess that place up, and Yahweh's going to use other nations upon the face of the earth to come up against that place and destroy them, burning them with fire with their ICBMs and their nuclear missiles. Verse 19, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made all rich, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God have avenged her on you. For God have avenged you on her. Because we're going to be avenged of that place, man. Because that place has caused a lot of harm to our nation. That's the place where the Israelites every single tribe was oppressed together. That's the place. And people that also thought it was a joke, well, let's see how much of a joke you thought it was when you're paying. And on that note, I'm going to end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. Shalom.